Hey, I'm Dr. Gary Huckabee. I teach in the business school here at Athens State University, and today I'm going to talk to you about social media and when we're applying for a job and the do's and don'ts and some of the things to look out for. So one of the first questions is when people talk about social media and applying for a job is, should I have one? Because if people talk about it, it could work against you, or should I not have one? And your social media presence is kind of like your digital footprint. So you do need to have a social media presence because the more than likely in today's world, HR, the human resources group that's looking to hire you is going to Google you and see what comes up. Many of us maybe have not done that to ourselves, something you might want to do and see what comes up and kind of look, is that something you'd want somebody in the business world to see? In the business world, hiring somebody only about 57% of the time do we get it right about hiring someone. So they know you're coming, presenting your best bet, your best foot forward, your resume is all polished up, you've read some books on how to interview, you've gone to Books A Million, sat there and read through all those, so you're presenting your best face. But as an HR person, we're kind of wanting, well, what's behind the scenes? And your social media footprint tells us a lot about that. At some of the HR conferences I've gone to, some of the groups that try to find algorithms, predictive mathematical equations that predict whether you'll be a successful employee or not, use some very, very scary tactics. They'll capture your media, whether you've deleted it or not. They can go back historically and capture data. Most organizations don't do that, but it just kind of tells you, don't put something up there you don't want shown on social media or for them to find out, because there's some ability to go back historically. So interesting things that I'll tell you about that notice, like many of us are familiar with a red Solo cup. Well, what would we predict is in a red Solo cup? It's usually not water. That's usually alcohol. Putting a picture with a beer in your hand, or obvious alcoholic beverages. You're rated in some of the algorithms that human resources personnel can access and pay for based on things like this. Things you want to be careful about, and certainly don't mean to be judgmental, but you got to think from an HR perspective, they're trying to decide who's the best candidate. So things like ink and multiple piercings, especially piercings like in the eyebrow or in the upper part of the ear, those things get rated by HR people as sometimes candidates that might not work out as well as candidates. As somebody who trains HR professionals, I work very hard to try to get them to not judge people based on those things. Military experience, prior criminal record. Sometimes we see that people have an apostrophe in their name. I noticed in a report the other day that somehow that could be used. People weren't interviewed as much or chosen based on their name, hyphenated names. Now, I certainly wouldn't encourage you to change any of those things about yourself, but I do want to encourage you to understand that you are being judged, and social media is part of that. So you want to have that awareness to temper whatever you're posting and manage that. You have freedom of choice, but you don't always have freedom of consequences. And in this sense, if you're applying for the job, you probably want the job. And of course, here at Athens State, we want you to have the best opportunity to be able to get this, to get the position that you're looking for. So you really want to think about posting what is considered a professional image. And you, as somebody in middle school and high school, those things are not something we're conscious of. But as you move into applying, you want to make some of your posts a lot more professional about whatever the subject matter that you're talking about. Might be about whatever career field you're going into. It may be pictures of you at a conference instead of you at the beach. It may be a picture of you and some coworkers instead of you with a bunch of people on a vacation. You start managing this towards something that has a little bit more of that professional image. The way we wear our hair, what kind of clothes we wear, all set a professional tone. And you're being judged on that, and that's whether it's right or wrong. I want you to know that HR is trying to, before they put a large investment in you, they want to make sure they're making a good hire. Things like smoking and chewing tobacco and I've read things about if you have a lot of bumper stickers on your car, you're politically charged or anything like that. Companies in the litigious society we work in today are kind of trying to avoid that. They really want people kind of in that middle of the road. So you are entitled to do things in your personal life, and then you're entitled to do things in your professional life. But as you're wanting a job, and we're talking about now applying, you want to be moving more to that professional setting, that professional degree, and really monitor the kind of things that you're putting online and the separation of your personal and your professional there. But just remember that most of that can be captured in social media, and they don't just look at Facebook or Instagram or any of the other platforms that we want you to engage in. There are some of the ones that are a little bit more professional, like LinkedIn. That's a really good one. On LinkedIn, you want to keep that more professional. It's more like a resume. You really want to be on that. When somebody's looking for a job, you should be on LinkedIn and have that cleaned up. There's a lot of things you can Google. What should it look like on LinkedIn? How to increase your presence on LinkedIn. You want to do that. But the big message for you today is just to think about what you're presenting out there as you. Would you be something somebody would want to hire? And then unfortunately, with some of the things I mentioned that you say, well, that's not right or that's not fair for someone to judge me on that, you got to remember those are not protected classes when we talk about race, religion, and sexual orientation, but they are very predictive of somebody's job success, and HR uses that to their advantage. So you want to use it to yours. Be conscious, be aware, present that professional image, and that's going to really help you get that job. Looking forward to working with you somewhere down the line. Looking forward to you getting that job and being successful. Glad to have you here at Athens State University.